Christmas Eve, 1945. What should have been a night of celebration for the Sodder family turned into a night of unimaginable tragedy and mystery. A fire engulfed their home in Fayetteville, West Virginia, in the early hours of Christmas Day, but the true horror lay not in the flames. 5 of the 10 Sodder children disappeared that night, leaving behind no trace, no answers, and a series of chilling clues. What happened to the Sodder children? Was this a tragic accident, or did something far more sinister take place? George and Jenny Sodder were a hard-working couple, proud parents to 10 children, ranging in age from toddlers to young adults. George, an Italian immigrant, had built a successful trucking business and was known for his strong opinions, particularly against the Mussolini regime, a stance that had earned him both admiration and enemies within the local Italian-American community. The Sodders lived in a 2-story, timber-framed house just outside the town of Fayetteville. It was a bustling household filled with the typical chaos and joy of a large family, and that Christmas Eve was no different. Gifts had been exchanged, and the younger children were allowed to stay up late, playing with their new toys. Little did they know, it would be the last time the entire family would be together. At approximately 1 a.m., Jenny Sodder was woken by the sound of something hitting the roof, a loud thudding noise, followed by a rolling sound. Moments later, she smelled smoke. Rushing downstairs, she discovered flames engulfing George's office, which also doubled as a storage room for the family's business. Jenny woke George and the children, and chaos ensued. 4 of the children, John, George Jr., Sylvia, and Marion, escaped the house along with George and Jenny. But 5 others, Maurice, 14, Martha, 12, Louis, 9, Jenny Jr., 8, and Betty, 5, were trapped upstairs. George's attempts to save his children were nothing short of heroic, yet bizarrely, every effort seemed doomed. The ladder, usually kept propped against the house, was missing. George's 2 work trucks, which he intended to use to climb to the 2nd-story window, refused to start, despite having worked perfectly earlier that day. Even the phone lines were cut, preventing the family from calling for help. In a state of despair, George tried to climb the house himself, slicing his hands on broken glass in a desperate attempt to reach the upstairs bedrooms. Meanwhile, Jenny and Marion ran to a neighbor's house to call the fire department, but help was slow to arrive. The fire department didn't show up until the next morning, hours after the house had been reduced to ash. By the time the fire was extinguished, the Sodder home was nothing more than smoldering rubble. Officials searched for the remains of the missing children but found nothing, not even bones. The fire chief suggested that the blaze had burned so hot that it completely cremated their bodies. However, Jenny found this explanation impossible to believe. She began conducting her own experiments, burning animal bones in similar conditions. Each time, bones remained intact. This sparked her growing suspicion that the fire had been a cover-up and that her children might still be alive. The days and weeks following the fire brought a series of strange discoveries and reports. A man had been seen stealing a block and tackle from the Sodder property shortly before the fire. A neighbor reported seeing a car speeding away from the house that night, with children looking out of its windows. Even more chilling were the cryptic messages the Sodders received over the years. One letter contained a photograph of a young man who strongly resembled Maurice, with a note that read, "Louis Sodder, I love brother Frankie, ill boys, a 90132 or 35 prime." The Sodders believed this was a message from their missing son, but attempts to trace its origin led nowhere. Speculation about the Sodder children's fate has ranged from the plausible to the extraordinary. One popular theory is that the children were kidnapped, possibly as a result of George's outspoken political views. Some believe the Italian mafia was involved, punishing George for his criticism of fascism. Others suggest the fire was an elaborate cover-up for a human trafficking ring. There's even speculation that the children might have been taken and raised by another family, their identities erased to protect them from harm. Frustrated by the lack of answers, George and Jenny erected a billboard near their home, offering a reward for information about their missing children. For decades, the billboard stood as a haunting reminder of their unanswered questions. George spent the rest of his life chasing leads, even traveling to New York and Kentucky, based on reported sightings of the children. Despite their relentless efforts, the Sodders never found definitive proof of what happened that night. George passed away in 1969, and Jenny followed in 1989, both taking their unanswered questions to the grave. However, their surviving children have continued to share the story, keeping the mystery alive. The disappearance of the Sodder children remains one of America's most enduring mysteries. It's a story of heartbreak, resilience, and the unyielding determination of a family searching for the truth. To this day, investigators, true crime enthusiasts, and conspiracy theorists alike debate what really happened. Was it a tragic accident, a sinister plot, or something in between? Nearly 80 years later, the fate of the Sodder children remains shrouded in mystery. The fire that consumed their home left behind more questions than answers, and the fragments of evidence only deepen the enigma. What do you think happened to the Sodder children? Share your theories in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to EerieTales for more chilling mysteries that defy explanation.